Hi friends, I'm Doug Pratt. I'm speaking to you from the sanctuary of First Church in Bonita Springs, and it is Wednesday, May the 27th. This is now the fourth week of our governor's opening up in a phase one for Florida. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what is happening here. It's been 3 weeks since our last pastor's chat, and I'd like to take a few minutes of your time to update you. Regrettably, our media, both local and national, are not always helpful and sometimes misleading about what's really happening. They do bad news really well, good news not so well. So I'll try to share with you a little bit of an accurate picture of what's going on. But first, let me talk a little bit about how we're dealing with life today from a spiritual perspective. You know, life is dangerous and always has been. And in times of prosperity, whether it be personal or national prosperity, it's really easy for us to get to thinking that all the dangers of life have been removed. But of course, they never are. And all people of all times have had to deal with their own challenges. Why we, in our nation, in our lifetime, have had to cope with natural disasters and terrorist attacks and recessions and assassinations of leaders and great political turmoil and wars and all kinds of difficulties. We have personally gone through numerous challenges. Many of you, surgeries or cancer treatments or serious illnesses or the loss of a loved one or a financial difficulty or a marital problem. And through all of these, we have become resilient people. And that resilience is exactly what's going to get us as a nation and individually through our latest challenge. Let's not fall into the naive delusion that life is someday going to be totally safe. And until it is, we must cocoon, because life will always have its dangers, but we will step forth as believers, trusting in God and with His courage in our hearts. I want to share with you a little poem written by an obscure Christian writer a century ago that actually burst onto world's consciousness in a very dramatic moment. The setting was the Christmas Eve address on the first year of the Second World War by King George VI of England to his subjects in Britain and all around the worldwide British Empire. His people had been traumatized, of course, by a devastating world war just 2 decades earlier, and now another war has just begun, one that will prove to last 6 years and be very painful and difficult. King George, as he spoke to his people, who were naturally filled with more legitimate fear and anxiety about the future than we have today, read as the end of his address this poem, The Gate of the Year. And I said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, "Give me a light, that I may tread safely into the unknown." And he replied, "Go out into the darkness and put your hand into the hand of God. That shall be to you better than light and safer than a known way." So I went forth, and finding the hand of God, tread gladly into the night. What a powerful reminder of what faith can do in bringing us through all kinds of challenges. In fact, it was their faith and their resilience that brought the British people through and ultimately triumphed, so much so that another of their great leaders said of them, this was their finest hour. May you and I likewise place our hands in the hand of God, and whatever the future holds, we will go forward confident that God's hand is better than light and better than knowing the future, and that we can trust in Him. Well, let's talk a little bit now about church news and then local news of Southwest Florida. The church has now held 4 consecutive Sundays of live worship services here in our sanctuary. 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock each Sunday morning, with a live stream in real time going out across the internet. And many, many people, more than 1,000 at least, have been, by metrics of the internet, watching and participating in that worship service. But here in the sanctuary, this past Sunday, we had 100 people at the 8 o'clock service and 400 at the 10 o'clock service. And in a sanctuary of capacity for 1,300 people, social distancing is certainly not a problem for us, and we're taking all kinds of sanitary precautions. We have seen people gradually coming back, but we will be seeing in the days to come some of our seasonal residents and members who will be departing to places to the north. So that number of 500 total on a Sunday morning may be approximately where we are through the summer months. It is a great joy to be together, and everyone I've talked to who has come to one or more of our worship services live in this month of May has expressed to me their gratitude for the opportunity to be together with other believers. And so I want to invite you, if you are in Southwest Florida, knowing your own health situation better than anyone, if you feel comfortable enough to come to church, we would love to have you be with us, and we promise to take care of you. Now, we will be opening up our Sunday morning dig classes and our children's Sunday school beginning in June. Last Sunday, we opened our book center. We have also had our thrift shop open for an entire week. And boy, if you are in need of some retail therapy, that's the place to go, because we are loaded, stuffed to the gills with wonderful merchandise. Apparently, some people had the opportunity in the month of April to go through their home and decide on some things they'd like to donate to the thrift shop. So we've got some great merchandise available. A number of other church activities are slowly resuming, including some men's activities, women's activities, great banquet reunions, other gatherings. The First Things First newsletter about activities for each week of the church is being sent to you by email every Saturday. I hope you'll open it and read it and stay in touch. Regrettably, our chancel choir is not going to be rehearsing yet, and it may be a few months. We have determined that probably a choir rehearsal where a whole bunch of people are gathered in a small room singing at each other may not be the best thing yet, and so there will be a delay. We miss our chancel choir and our worship services very much, but we've had some wonderful soloists and duets and instrumentalists who are enriching our music and our worship. Our right turn lane project, adding a safe entrance to our church property off of Bonita Beach Road as you are eastbound, is underway. We expect the work to be finished around the first week in July. Our church finances, well, that's been a surprise. We have not been able to hold live services, nor have we had a book center or a thrift shop open for 6 weeks from the middle of March through April. If anyone had told me that we would be able to close down for our peak season of the year and yet be in the black and financially stable at the end of that period, I would have concluded was delusional. But in fact, it's happened due to the generous gifts of so many of you sending online and by mail support to the church. Some people have given their entire year's gift now, which is great for our cash flow through the lean summer months, and others have told me they're even giving more to support the church. What a blessing. We are actually a little bit ahead of where we were last year, which I would have thought to have been impossible. And we've been able to set up a fund through our local cooperative of Love Inc. to help people in our community who have just lost their jobs and need some help to hold on to their homes until new jobs emerge for them, which may realistically be the fall when our economy picks up here again in Southwest Florida. We have had an amazing response to this. My wife and I decided we would give the check the government sent to us to this fund, and so many others have. After all, there are people who need it way more than we do. And as of the last accounting a few days ago, we have received $94,000 for our Save Our Homes Fund. We have already helped a number of families, and we'll be helping many more in the months to come. And what a great thing to be able to bless others when God has blessed and protected us financially by giving to those who are in a time of short-term but very significant need for mortgages, for rent, and for utility payments. Well, now let me talk a little bit about what's happening here in Southwest Florida. And the financial impact of the dramatic shutdown is certainly being felt and will continue to ripple. We have had the announcement of the closing of the Nordstrom's shopping center department store at the Waterside Shops in North Naples. We've had the closing of Pier 1 Imports. They have gone bankrupt. We were surprised to hear that the Perkins restaurant at US 41 and Bonita Beach Road has closed its doors for good, as has the local salad bar chain Sweet Tomatoes, and even Hertz, one of the largest employers in our area with its New World headquarters in Estero, has just filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy reorganization. We don't know what the future will be for that company. Our governor has been leading us into what is now considered the full Phase 1 reopening. Parenthetically, I think our governor's done a pretty good job here in Florida, though there was notably a significant computer glitch for the first couple weeks of the shutdown in the unemployment benefit website, and that caused a delay for a lot of people and a lot of bad press for the governor, but it appears that that's been rectified. Many, many parts of life are slowly resuming normal. Here in Southwest Florida, restaurants are able to have and serve indoor patrons at 50% of capacity. A lot of retail stores have opened up. Outdoor recreation is wide open and being enjoyed. Hair salons, gyms, other activities that were closed for a while have opened. Movie theaters have not. The Symphony Hall and other big events have not opened. Minor League Baseball is on hiatus and so on, but a lot of things relating to daily life are resuming. One thing that is a real frustration for your pastors is that we're still not able to visit our church members in hospitals, in care centers, in rehab places, and even in many of the retirement communities, which are tightly locked up, and therefore we can't be with people in their time of need, and that's a real frustration to us. Let me talk to you a little bit about our healthcare situation, and I'll focus upon the Lee Health. Lee County has 6 hospitals in that system. There are 2 hospital systems in Collier County, each with 2 hospitals, but I've got the latest statistics on the Lee system as a snapshot for you. Across those 6 hospitals, there are a total of 80 coronavirus patients isolated and being treated. They have released from the Lee Health System about 450 COVID-19 patients who have recovered. There are 21 staff people from those hospitals who have tested positive and are currently under a home quarantine. Lee Health CEO, in his own words, said, "Our hospital system is stable and strong, and he is welcoming patients, encouraging people not to stay away." In fact, one of the unintended consequences of the hasty and dramatic shutdown, which was intended to preserve hospitals to be able to handle a huge influx of coronavirus cases, but the result is the hospitals are really hurting financially because all of the elective surgery, their financial bread and butter, has been postponed and delayed, and people have even been warned away, or at least perceived they were being warned away from going to doctors and to the emergency room to such an extent that the hospitals are hurting and are going to have to temporarily lay off some of their people. But there is some good news. The Lee County system indicated that they have received a significant supply of remdesivir. They are providing that to their coronavirus patients with good results. And they have also been actively developing the plasma donation for those who have the virus antibodies. In case you're wondering, let me give you the latest statistics on Florida and on our region. Florida has about 18 million people. It's the 4th most populous state in the country. There have been 50,000 positive test results for coronavirus in Florida, 2,000 deaths. And of those 2,000 deaths, fully half of them have been patients in nursing homes and care facilities who obviously are likely to have more weakened physical systems or be more prone to a fatal illness. Compare Florida's 2,000 deaths with New York State, which has had 25,000 deaths. And you can see the dramatic difference, even though our populations are nearly alike. The past 3 weeks in the state of Florida, the testing has dramatically ramped up, and test results have shown less than 3% positive every day. In Lee and Collier counties, we have about 1 million people living in this metropolitan area. We have had 3,000 positive test results, which is again about 3%, and 130 deaths combined over the 2 counties. So that's a little bit of the health situation. In terms of the political and governmental process, well, the coronavirus has certainly done some disrupting of that. The Bonita City Council has not been able, because of the small space of their council chambers, to hold their public meetings as required by law in their facility, allowing adequate social distancing. So, for the second meeting in the month of May, just a week ago, and for their June meetings, the City Council actually has met right here in our sanctuary with plenty of space for the public to gather and to be a part of that meeting. The political system is facing, as you all know, important elections this coming fall. And that's been disrupted. Not only the weird sight of the Democratic candidate running for president from his basement, but also locally, a lot of the normal political process has been disrupted. Congressman Francis Rooney is retiring after his terms. There are 10 candidates to replace him in that congressional seat, and the 10 cannot have public meetings or gatherings or rallies. It's been a very unusual kind of a situation. Churches in our area are gradually starting to open. We were one of the first. And schools are wrestling with the issue of whether or not to open in the fall as scheduled, normally in August. In fact, that's going to have an impact not only upon public schools and private schools, but it may also impact our church preschool. We're not sure yet. Everybody's trying to figure out this new landscape, and nobody has the crystal ball to tell us exactly what things will be like just a few months from now. Well, that's a little bit of a snapshot of what is happening here in Southwest Florida. Some of you who are watching me are in this area, and others of you are far away in other places. What are the circumstances where you are today? I'd love to hear. Each one of us is going to have lots of personal stories about where we were and what life was like during the great virus of 2020. And it's good to share those stories. I would love to hear from you, especially if you have prayer concerns for yourself or a family member or someone you love. We've got a team of people who love to pray and pray daily. And if you'd like to share with us prayer concerns by email to the church office or to me personally, I would love to hear from you. Well, until we see each other again face to face, for some of you, that will be this coming Sunday. For others of you, it may be many months from now. Until then, you are in my prayers. Be safe and know that you are loved.